Alright, this is gonna be a really janky thing about how to theoretically make some sort of repeating pattern. I have no idea how efficient this is, whatever. I'm just doing this as a weird pseudo-experiment type thing. The first thing I'm going to do is start with the cylinder with 6 sides. I picked 6 because I think maybe it will work for what I need. I genuinely don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate one of those. And then I am going... What? Weird. Cool. Duplicate that. Oh, right. I can't see it because it is sideways. Cool. I'm an idiot. Okay. So, position that wherever you want your second row of things. I'm just going to say negative 8.8 is going to be how much roughly I move these, but I don't know. So when we smooth this, you'll see they become circles eventually, and that's, in this case, what we want. The other thing that I meant to do and didn't do, because I'm a goober, is to extrude these edges ever so slightly, which will basically just give me the option to harden that edge later. So I'm actually going to redo that, and I decided I don't care about these values. So what I'm gonna do is, plus it makes it visible from the top, huzzah! I'm gonna pop the pivot back onto the origin, which will allow me to rotate this 90 degrees, except the, I think, number I actually want is 60, and I'm just being an idiot. Yes, 60 degrees, and instead of manually typing in all of that nonsense, I am going to go into my duplicate special and just have it rotate and copy itself, I think, 4 more times? Yay. Cool. Okay, so the next thing that I'm gonna do, so it seems like that is 6 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is the next one. Fun. So I'm gonna go ahead and just move that out again. And again, if I was being careful, I'd be using reference or something. So, this time I'm going to, twice the number, I can just duplicate special with 30 degrees instead of 60. Boom. Cool. When you forget how math works. Alright, so basically you would just keep doing that the whole way out. I'm not gonna really do more than this because I don't think it's super necessary for the sake of this demonstration. So what I'm gonna do, I could theoretically, like, divide this into 6. I'm just gonna do a quarter for now because I'm feeling kind of lazy, to be honest. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hide all, whoops, hide all these, hide all those, whatever. So this is what I'm gonna be working with, basically, and yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and, first of all, mesh display reverse these so the outside is on the correct side. And then I am going to mesh combine these and just start bridging random stuff together. Like, just all the random things. So I'm gonna do edit mesh bridge, whoops, I don't even know what I clicked on to do that. That was super questionable. Bridge, gross. Bridge! Things kind of break down a little bit on some of these corners, but whatever. And in this case, I am not going to worry if there are some tries here, but in this case, apparently I can keep this mostly quads, even if they're somewhat questionable. And like I said, just going in, trying to refill all this random crapola, basically with the goal of having eventually this be a, you know, full object of shape of whatever. Also, figuring out some kind of way that you want to bridge these that was uniform, like all of these get a quad right here, all of these get a tri or something like that. Actually, that's still a quad. Is probably good just to keep yourself sane. If you need to make modifications to one thing, it's going to be easier to do that without having to, you know, worry about whatever's happening. Like, oh, this is different. This section is different than this other section. Alright, so the rest of these I'm going to append because they're tries, and the bridge tool is complaining about that. I'm also going to just close some of this stuff up real badly. Yeah. Anywho, so once you had something that was, you know, whatever kind of the shape that you need, kind of, hopefully. You could either do this on the entire top of the thing, or you could just duplicate some of the stuff. So what I'm actually gonna do, and this is gonna get, like, a little weird for a sec. Okay, so I'm just gonna ignore these little top halves not being a thing. So what I'm gonna do is actually come in and draw 2 cubes. There'll be cubes in a minute when I extrude them. And I'm going to vertex snap this to the origin. And my goal here is to basically cut or boolean out basically just edge loops directly on the thing. So I could do this with the multi-cut tool, or I could do it with booleans, and the reason that I am able to do this with booleans right now, even when normally I do not recommend them in the slightest, is... oh god, that's not closed. Gross. I'll figure that out in a second. Is because it's going across all quads. So if you boolean a straight line across quads, it just keeps things being quads, so it's either going to be quads or just cutting something on an edge. So I'll pay attention to what it's doing and just, like, make sure it's not doing anything crazy, but it should be fine. So I'm actually going to delete the bottom of this, since now we have this, like, nice flat mesh, and then what I can go ahead and do is just extrude that up or down, or whatever the heck random direction I want, so that this is then what we have left, and it's nice and solid. You can see it smooths reasonably, and then if I did decide that I wanted multiple edges in here, I could just multi-cut again across, because it's all flat, and it will give me these nice hard edges. I will demonstrate another thing shortly, but for now, this is what we're gonna be demoing on. Okay, so... okay, cool. Why is my one key not working? Excellent. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is actually boolean these. So I'm gonna do mesh boolean difference, different, mesh boolean, cool. So that usually tells me that there's some kind of weird mesh error or something happening. You can try the different method of booleaning, but in this case, it's not helping in the slightest. And I have a feeling, because sometimes Boolean doesn't like booleaning directly on lines. So what I'm going to try doing is moving this, like, just barely over. And I'm going to see if that works. Nope. Let's try normal. Nope. Cool. Alright, well, that's kind of a drag. So the other thing that you can do, if you want, is delete all these stupid faces. And I'm just gonna... there's a few different ways to do this. I'm probably just gonna come in and grab this and just vertex snap it, and I'll just basically, like, force all of these to be... oops. What? Oh, I'm deleting edges. And I'll just rebuild parts of the geometry. What is... I have a feeling I've broken this side irreparably. I'm gonna delete the lower faces on this again, so I'm only working with this top plane. Anywho. Alright, so I'm gonna just extrude these, and if I scale these down, it should keep them flat, because that was pretty much the angle they were at anyway. Okay, so I'll just vertex snap this to the grid. And then edit mesh. Bridge that. Apparently I need to go back into my pen tool because I've made some weird tries. Yay, cool. Take that, booleans. Nobody likes you. So you can do everything without booleans. Anyway, just, you know, saved half a step. Alright, so now what you can do, and I guess before I even extrude this down again, I'm just gonna do this. Oops. What am I doing? Okay, so I'm gonna just duplicate this, and I'm going to move the pivot to the origin. Good lord. D, V, click, demon thing. Alright. And now, if I wrote this, say it's 90 degrees, it should line up. And when I say should line up, I mean, you know, it might have lined up had I paid attention to where these inner sphere things would be. So I think I've definitely done some of this math incorrectly in terms of how I chose to lay this out. Yeah. Not the most ideal. So I think... so I'm looking at this. And it turns out I needed, this isn't a thing that I can quarter, I actually need to cut this in, sixths. So, sorry, that was really weird, that was gross noise. So what I'm gonna do, and this is, I could use a multi-cut for this. I personally, for some reason, I'm just more comfortable doing this with a Boolean. So what I'm going to do is just take this thing, shift the pivot, good lord, shift the pivot to the corner, right to the origin, and just rotate this 60 degrees, apparently, is the number that I want there. Cool. And then just set this up to be a real shape. To do Boolean, you need volume, so I'm just going to give this an arbitrary height so that I am able to actually Boolean this. And for this one, we should be able to do a mesh Boolean intersection, which is not working. So that's, you know, fun again. Alright, so alternate option is, since we're now dividing directly down a line of quads again, we can multi-cut in. You press and hold Control and Shift, it'll insert an edge loop basically directly in the center of a line, which we can see based on this thing is pretty much exactly where we need it. So once we do that, we can go and delete all of these faces and stuff. Because we now no longer need them, and once again, I'm just going to delete all the stuff on the bottom of this, because it's easier to work with something like this. Okay, so now, hopefully, if we take this and we move this down, good lord, I'm having absolutely rubbish luck with the catching the tool in the wrong spot. Alright, so now, theoretically, if we rotate this 60 degrees, thank you, it will give us a nice matching thingy. Once you've done that, you can duplicate special this again, and we need this to be 60, and just, I don't feel like, it's easier to click 6 times and type in a new number. So now we have this delightful repeating pattern. Once we have these, we can mesh combine them, and then do an edit mesh, merge, that's what I'm going for, and now, oof, questionable. I'm gonna try a higher distance threshold there. Not really sure what's happening up there. That's a little weird. Alright, so maybe it would have been a good idea to make sure that I have not, you know, broken pieces of this before proceeding. Because that is definitely not smoothing correctly, and there is definitely something wrong there. I just, for this demo, I'm not gonna fix it. I have this weird feeling it might be, like, I was thinking maybe extra vertices or, like, extra faces, because I was like, yeah, it's extra faces. So check for that kind of stuff before you duplicate it, otherwise you're just gonna have to go around to, like, every single place on this stupid thing and delete those extra faces, apparently. Cool. Alright, so now we have this. Yay. So, there are multiple things you can do with this. One is just extrude this. One, extrude, G to extrude again. It's gonna crash Maya. Shit. Yes! Beautiful. Alright, so Maya crashed, and I didn't save the version of the file, so I'm just gonna do a really janky, quick version of it, where I just booleaned a bunch of holes out of stuff. Terrible topology. Anywho, so what I was saying before is that you should be able to just extrude this up a few times, and, you know, add in those, like, extra loops to harden this if you need to, whatever, or you can just multi-cut across the sides, and then you'll get something like this, which, you know, because I Boolean stuff, like the monster that I am, smooths terribly. The other option that you have, if you want this on a curved surface, is to use some kind of deformer, or do something somewhat equally janky. So this does run the risk of distorting some of these circles maybe a little bit, but for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to make this wonky sphere that would be theoretically the profile that I would need. I'm going to turn on my live objects and then grab the vertices on this, and if you boop them slightly, it will basically snap them to this object. And now we can turn off the live surface modeling, hide this thing, and we have a delightfully rounded grid of terror and destruction. And then, once again, you're free to go in and actually extrude. Now, I do recommend if you have this curved that you extrude, like if you needed this to be a hard edge, that you extrude your tiny loop, and tiny loop so that you have your edge loops on the inside, because obviously if this is not flat, you're not going to be able to multi-cut across that. You would have to manually add in loops for every single one of those holes, which frankly, nobody wants to do. So now we have this weird curved version. Hopefully that was helpful. And at least partly coherent.